Assalamu alaikum fam, hope you're doing fantastic. Let's continue our reading of Tirmidhi. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Very exciting. Alright, we're learning every day. So listen to it while you're on your commute, you're on the bus, you're sitting in the park, all that good stuff. Chapter 22. Al-Madama and Al-Istinshaq from one handful. Abdullah bin Zayd, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I saw the Prophet, peace be upon him, rinse his mouth and sniff water in his nose. Using one hand, he did that thrice. Daif. Abu Isa said, there are narrations on this topic from Abdullah bin Abbas. Abu Isa said, the hadith of Abdullah bin Zayd is Hassan Garib. Malik ibn Uyayna and others reported this hadith from Amr bin Yahya, and they did not mention the words, the Prophet rinsed his mouth and sniffed water in his nose using one hand. That was only mentioned by Khalid bin Abdullah, and Khalid bin Abdullah is trustworthy with a good memory according to the people of Hadith. Oh, nice. Some of the people of knowledge say that al-madama and al-istinshaq using one hand is acceptable, and some say separating them is more recommended to us. Ash-Shafi'i said, if they are combined in one hand, then it is allowed, and if they are separated, it is more recommended to us. Okay, so separated hands. Interesting. It'd be hard to see. One hand is kind of hard. I think two. That's easier for me. Okay, comments. Imam Nawawi quoted 5 methods of rinsing the mouth and sniffing water up in the nostrils. All these methods, according to the majority of scholars, are allowed. Performing them both with 1 scoop of water at one time together. Okay. Performing them both separately with 1 scoop of water with one hand, i.e., first to rinse the mouth 3 times, and then to sniff the water up in the nostrils 3 times. Performing them both with 2 scoops of water, rinsing the mouth 3 times, with 1 scoop, and sniffing the water up in the nose with the second scoop 3 times. With 3 scoops of water together, to rinse the mouth and sniff the water up in the nose 3 times. To rinse the mouth 3 times with 3 scoops of water, and then to sniff the water up in the nose 3 times with 3 scoops of water. Okay. I'm going to put a little star next to this one, and then do a little dog tag on the end so I can mark it with a sticker later, because I think that's a very important point. Chapter 23. What has been narrated about going through the beard? Nice. Okay, let's see. Hassan bin Bilal, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I saw Ammar bin Yasir performing wudu, so he went through his beard with his hand. It was said to him, or he said, I said, you go through your beard? He said, and what is there to prevent me? Indeed, I saw Allah's messenger going through his beard. Daif. Okay, it says weak, but interesting. Huh. In another narration, Ammar narrated the same from the Prophet, peace be upon him. Daif. Abu Isa said, there are narrations on this topic from Uthman, Aisha, Salama, Anas, ibn Abu Awfa, and Abu Ayyub. Abu Isa said, I heard Ishaq bin Mansur saying, Ahmad bin Hanbal said, Ibn Uyana said, Abdul Karim, one of the narrators of hadith number 29, did not hear the hadith about going through the beard from Hassan bin Bilal. Oh, okay. Uthman bin Affan, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet, peace be upon him, would go through his beard. Hassan. Abu Isa said, this hadith is Hassan Sahih. Muhammad bin Ishmael, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the most correct thing on this topic is the hadith of Amir bin Shafiq from Abu Wa'il from Uthman, number 31. Abu Isa said, this was said by most of the people of knowledge among the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and those after them. They hold the view that one should go through the beard with the hand. This is the view of Ash-Shafi'i. Okay, so you can. I mean, wouldn't see why not. It's pretty cleanliness. You want to smell nice, right? Ahmad said, if one forgets to go through the beard, then that is acceptable. Ishaq said, if he forgets or does not do it based on some interpretation, then it is acceptable. But if he purposefully leaves it out, he should repeat it. Oh, interesting. Look at that. So, forgetting doesn't do it based on a certain interpretation, but if you intentionally leave it out, then you have to repeat it. That's really cool. Do you see the nuances there? Comments. The Noble Quran made it compulsory to wash the face. But the face cannot be washed properly if the beard is thick. Therefore, Imam Atta, Abu Thawr, and Ishaq hold the view that passing the wet fingers through the beard is obligatory. The word kana gives the meaning of consistency when it comes before the present verb, as long as there is no indication to be interpreted otherwise. So the people with thick beards, particularly, should not overlook it. Okay, so people with thick, beautiful beards should not overlook it. But running the fingers through the beard at the end of the ablution is not necessary. Okay, so in the face part, maybe it's probably the step. Seems like when you do it, but if you do it at the end, then it would not be necessary. Very interesting distinction there. Chapter 24. What has been related about wiping the head, that is, to begin with the front of the head to its rear. Yes, back and then forward, yeah. Abdullah bin Zayd narrated that Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, wiped over his head with his hands, going over the front with them and the rear. He began with the front of his head until they went to the nape of his neck. Then he brought them back again to the place where he began. Then he washed his feet. Sahih. Abu Isa said, there are narrations on this topic from Muawiyah, Al-Mikdam bin Madakarib, and Aisha. Abu Isa said, the hadith of Abdullah bin Zayd is the most correct thing on this topic and the best. The views of Ash-Shafi, Ahmad, and Ishaq were in accordance with it. Okay. Chapter 25. What has been related, that is to be begun at the rear of the head. Ar-Rubay bint Muawid bin Afra, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated, the Prophet, peace be upon him, wiped his head 2 times. He began with the rear of his head, then with the front of his head, and with both of his ears inside of them. Okay, outside and inside of them. Hassan. Abu Isa said, this hadith is Hassan. The hadith of Abdullah bin Zayd is more correct than this, and the grade of its chain is better. The grade of its chain. Some of the people of Al-Kufa hold a view in accordance with this hadith, among them Waqi bin al-Jarrah. That's a cool name. Jarrah sounds really cool. Chapter 26. What has been related about wiping the head once. Al-Rubay bint Muad bint Afra, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that she saw the Prophet, peace be upon him, performing wudu. She said, he wiped his head and wiped what is in front of it and what is in its rear, and his temples and his ear 1 time. Hassan. He said, there are narrations on this topic from Ali and Talha bin Musarif bin Amir's grandfather. Abu Isa said, and the hadith of Ar-Rubay is a Hasan Sahih hadith. It has been reported from more than one route, and that the Prophet, peace be upon him, would wipe his head 1 time. Most of the people of knowledge among the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and those after them, act according to this. It is the view of Jafar bin Muhammad, Sufyan al-Thawri, bin al-Mubarak. That's another cool name, al-Mubarak. I like that name. I seem to like all the names that have like a emu sound. I don't know why. It's so pretty. Ash-Shafi, Ahmad, and Ishaq. They hold the view that the head is wiped once. Muhammad bin Mansur al-Maki narrated to us, he said, I heard Sufyan bin Uyana saying, I asked Jafar bin Muhammad about wiping the head. Is 1 time sufficient? He said, by Allah, of course. I don't know why I like those very concise answers. Like, yes, obviously. Comments. This is the opinion of most of the Ammiya, Abu Hanifa, Malik, Ahmad, Ishaq, Thawri, and the majority of the scholars that wiping over the head is only one time. Yeah, pretty much. Seems pretty consistent in that mode, right? If they said more than that, you'd wonder. Chapter 27. What has been related about one taking new water for wiping his head. Abdullah bin Zayd narrated that he saw the Prophet, peace be upon him, performing wudu, and that he wiped his head with water that was not left over from his hands. Sahih. I mean, because then you would put the dirty water on your head, right? It should be kind of weird, right? Yeah, you get a bunch of stuff in your hair. Abu Isa said, this hadith is Hasan Sahih. Ibn Lahiyah reported this hadith from Haban bin Wasi, from his father, from Abdullah bin Zayd, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, performed wudu, and that he wiped his head with water that was remaining in his hands. The narration of Amr bin al-Harith from Haban, this narration number 35, is more correct, because this hadith has been reported from more than one route, from Abdullah bin Zayd and others, that the Prophet, peace be upon him, took new water for wiping his head. Most of the people of knowledge act according to this hadith. They hold the view that new water should be taken for wiping the head. Excellent. Okay. Let's put a little note on that. Water / the head. New. Okay. What I like in this book is how it says, like, the people of knowledge. So it really kind of, like, motivates you to, like, oh, I really want to listen to them because they're the people of knowledge, right? It's very cool. At least for me, anyway. Chapter 28. What has been related about wiping the outside and the inside of the ears. Ibn Abbas narrated, the Prophet, peace be upon him, wiped his head and his ears, the outside and the inside of them. Sahih. Abu Isa said, there are narrations on this topic from Ar-Rubay. Abu Isa said, the hadith of Ibn Abbas is a Hasan Sahih hadith. Most, according to the people of knowledge, act according to this. They hold the view that the ears should be wiped, their outsides and their insides. Okay, cool, yeah. So ears / for wudu. Notice how it's like very systematic. You know, we're learning about your nose, how many times you wipe your head, and if you're getting your ears wet, the water would drip and then get on your makeup. You know, it's very interesting. Comments. According to the 4 Aima, the inner side of the ears is to be wiped with the index fingers. Okay, with the index fingers, and outers with the thumbs. Oh, an authentic hadith proves only this. Okay, so, yeah. I mean, but that's cool. Like, all right, you see that? Learning. Winner, chicken dinner. All right, fam. Now you know how to do proper wudu for your ears. MashaAllah.